Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is iGoRawr and welcome to Let's Auraxium, and today the suits at the NC have contracted me to tell you about the AC-X11, the first 200 damage model weapon that I've Auraxiumed. I'm happy to report that this weapon has fixed a long-time issue I've had with PlanetSide. For many years now, my massive PlanetSide edict has swayed to and fro, creating gusts of wind that, just so recently, became strong enough to knock over small children. But for as massive as it is though, I've always been missing something to go with it. A nice firm set of balls. Until the AC-X11 came around, that is. Because this weapon is undoubtedly the ballsiest carbine in the game. I'm not gonna lie to you, just talking about the AC-X11 makes the blood rush from one head to the other, so before I inevitably plash out from low blood pressure, let's take a look at the stat. A quick side note here before I begin. As someone that mains VS, I'm contractually obligated to mention the Pulse RC every single time the stats of another carbine are talked about within 400 meters of my person. So without further ado, Pulse RC and praise Vanu. Anyways, starting off with a fire rate of 500 rounds a minute, a damage model of 200 damage up to 10 meters, dropping off to 143 damage at 80 meters, we have a one-of-a-kind weapon. Not only is this the only carbine in the game that deals 200 damage, but is the only 200 damage weapon in the game that drops 2 levels of damage rather than just 1. Next is the magazine size of only 24 rounds and a total ammo pool of 144 shots. Although 24 rounds does sound like a small amount, when you add up how much damage the weapon can hold per magazine and compare it to that of a typical 176 damage model carbine with a 30-round magazine, well, it actually only deals about 100 damage less per mag. Finally is the velocity of 480 meters per second, which is a bit on the slow side of things, and a reload speed of 2 seconds short and 2.7 seconds for a long reload. When it comes to attachments, I recommend anything and everything that brings down the recoil or extends your effective range. This is by no means a spraying carbine despite the fast time to kill in the closer ranges. A forward grip is a must-have, but whether or not you choose to use the compensator or the high velocity ammo is really up to you. I personally recommend both of them, but I'll explain a little bit more about that later. As a side note, the compensator and the high velocity ammo work slightly different on the AC-X11 than it does on other weapons. The compensator provides an extra 5% additional recoil reduction over a typical compensator, and the high velocity ammo increases your velocity by 15% rather than a typical 10% that other weapons get. So is this weapon any good? Well, we'll find out in a second, but first, a word from our sponsors. Hey guys, iGoRawr here, and for this week's ad segment, I want to do something a little bit different. Over the past few weeks, I've found myself a little bit burnt out on PlanetSide, getting frustrated and having all sorts of negative emotions. Well, today I want to share with you a stress-relieving and relaxation technique that I've come up to make us all just feel a little bit better about ourselves and feel a little bit better about the game. So for this technique, all you need is a simple padlock, nothing special. And all you gotta do is that whenever you're feeling angry, whenever you're feeling frustrated, you just need to take that emotion. You need to take it, you need to harness it and just put it in there. And just lock it up. It's not that difficult. All you have to do is just lock up all that hate and anger, and suddenly the game just feels better. It just feels better whenever I lock this up. And it just makes me happy to see this locked up. And I hope it makes you happy too. That's it for this time, guys. So that brings us to our final question. Is the AC-X11 worth your time? And the answer is maybe. Don't get me wrong, I like the AC-X11 and have no doubt in my mind that it is a fantastic carbine. But recommending this gun to everyone, well, that's something I just can't do. The issue with the AC-X11 is that it has a lot of features that only a small amount of the player base with a particular set of skills and playstyle are going to enjoy. For the general player base, people who sometimes play in their NC alts are just looking for advice on what to buy as their first, second, or maybe third carbine, I would not recommend this gun to them. It's a weird thing for me to say I think a weapon is good, but you probably shouldn't buy it, but I have two damn good reasons for it. The first of which is that the AC-X11 is a pretty hard weapon to use, and the second reason is that, well, the role that the AC-X11 fills is something that a lot of other weapons in the NC's arsenal are already capable of fulfilling. Not only do I feel like this weapon is a bit demanding from the skill of its user, but I also feel like you genuinely need to sit down for a good hour to learn the complex recoil mechanics of weapons in PlanetSide to really fully understand how to use the weapon to its maximum potential. So for the few of you out there that have a weird kink where a dominatrix forces you to learn a small portion of a foreign language only spoken by a few nerds on the internet before she lets you see her tits, well, good news, because the AC-X11 is just that in weaponized form. So enough about the skill ceiling of this weapon. How does it play out in combat, and what is the AC-X11 capable of? Well, at the close ranges, this weapon has some pretty harsh limitations on it, despite the fact that it has a time to kill nearly identical to that of most close to mid-range weaponry. Between the worst hipfire of any carbine in the entire game and nearly the largest cone of fire for aiming down sights while moving, this carbine does not have a whole lot going for it outside of a reasonably good time to kill and a decent reload speed. However, that doesn't mean the AC-X11 still can't be extremely lethal up close. You just need to know how to use it. The key to being competitive in the close ranges with this weapon, and dare I say even being at an advantage over more qualified close range weapons, is to never play aggressively. Now, as you can clearly see in the video, I am by no means following that rule, but I got a lot of guns to Auraxium, I have a camera to look pretty for, so ain't nobody got time for that. But with just a small advantage in reaction time or positioning yourself better to nail your target with one of those brutal 400 damage headshots, this weapon has some outstanding abilities to hold its ground at the closer ranges. So if you're being a pocket engineer for a friend or a squad mate, the AC-X11 can make a reasonably good self-defense and support weapon. Next is the mid-range, and this is where the weapon undoubtedly works the best. One of the major aspects that make the AC-X11 so strong here are the ranges at which this weapon's damage levels drop. 50 meters is where the damage of this weapon drops to 167, and having a 6-shot kill range that far is extremely impressive, even more so for a carbine. This is why I highly recommend using the high velocity ammo for this weapon. Extending your 6-shot kill range from 50 to 55 meters is a pretty big deal on this particular gun. On top of all that, adding an extra 80 meters per second boost to your velocity will make sure leading your targets up to this range should not be required. Finally is how this weapon works at the longer ranges. Between the extra shot being required to kill someone past 50 or 55 meters, the cone of fire bloom, the velocity if you choose not to use high velocity ammo, and the slight randomization of the recoil, you're really gonna start to feel the weapon's effectiveness drop off pretty fast past that point. The only piece of advice I can give for taking on your targets at this range is one of two things. You either need to be extremely confident in your aim and extremely experienced with this weapon, or you need to have a damn good flank or positioning over your target, because a situation that looks like you have the upper hand can go tits up really fast with just one small mistake. As a side note though, the AC-X11's accuracy is pinpoint accurate while standing still on the first shot, so try to use that to your advantage. Overall, I think the AC-X11 is an extremely solid weapon, but does require some time and effort to really use the weapon to its maximum effectiveness. Sadly though, I still don't think I can recommend it to most players. The default carbine, the Mercenary, is already an extremely strong mid-range carbine, is free, has a very low skill requirement, and is overall better suited for the majority of situations you're gonna find yourself facing in combat. But that's not to say my AC-X11 is doomed to sit in a weapons locker for the rest of its life. No, it will see the light of day again, just in very particular fights, or maybe when I'm feeling a little bit frisky. Kinda like my gimp suit. Anyways guys, that's it for this time. My name's iGoRawr, and a congratulations to Rel for making it onto the dev team. It may have totally fucked up my plans for an April Fool's video, but, you know, I still love you, senpai. Notice me. I'll see you next time. Yeah, it's just annoying.
Hey, come give.
Oh, Floppy Phoenix. Oh. 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 Oh.
Oh, someone got him with the Phoenix.
What happened?
Oh my god, these are the buggiest weapons ever!